Welcome to the Hidden Wealth Coins. What if the loose pennies in your pocket are hiding a fortune beyond imagination? Coins like the 1946, 1948, 1953, and the legendary 1955 Wheat Pennies have shocked collectors with unexpected value, rare errors, and unbelievable auction prices. One tiny detail could turn a simple 1-cent coin into a treasure worth thousands. Before you spend another old penny, you need to see this, because you might already be holding hidden wealth. First up, listen carefully, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you look at a simple old coin. Imagine holding a tiny copper coin in your hand, something most people would ignore or spend without a second thought. Now imagine that same coin quietly holding a value so massive that collectors would fight over it, paying thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars. That's exactly the mystery and excitement behind the 1955 Wheat Penny, a coin that has shocked the world of collectors and turned ordinary people into lucky discoverers overnight. The 1955 Wheat Penny is not just another old coin. It's a legend in the coin collecting world. At first glance, it looks like any other penny from the mid-20th century, with Abraham Lincoln on one side and 2 wheat stalks on the back. But hidden within a small number of these coins is a rare error that changed everything. This error is known as the double die, and it's the reason why some of these pennies are worth incredible amounts of money today. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The doubling error on the 1955 penny is not small or hard to notice. It's bold, dramatic, and instantly visible to the naked eye. The words liberty and in God we trust, along with the date 1955, appear clearly doubled. It looks almost like the coin was printed twice, slightly off alignment. This wasn't done on purpose. It was a mistake during the minting process. But that mistake turned into a treasure. Back in 1955, these error coins were accidentally released into circulation. No one at the mint caught the mistake in time, and thousands of these coins ended up in everyday use. People bought groceries with them, gave them as change, and carried them in their pockets without realizing they were holding something rare. Over time, collectors began to notice the unusual doubling, and the legend of the 1955 double die penny was born. What makes this coin so valuable is not just the error itself, but the combination of rarity and demand. Only a limited number of these error coins exist, and many of them have been lost, damaged, or worn down over the years. That means finding one in good condition today is extremely difficult. And when something is both rare and highly desired, its value can skyrocket. In average condition, a 1955 double die wheat penny can be worth thousands of dollars. But in higher grades, coins that have been well preserved with sharp details and minimal, where the value can climb to tens of thousands. Some near-perfect examples have even sold for over $100,000 at auctions. Yes, a single penny turning into a life-changing amount of money. Condition plays a massive role in determining the value of this coin. Collectors carefully examine every detail: the shine, the edges, the clarity of the doubling, and whether the coin has scratches or damage. A coin that looks almost new, even after decades, is considered extremely valuable. That's why people always say, never clean or damage an old coin, because even a small mistake can reduce its value drastically. Another factor that adds to the excitement is the possibility that some of these coins are still out there, hidden in old jars, collections, or forgotten boxes. Many people inherited coins from their grandparents without ever checking their true value. That means there's always a chance, however small, that someone could discover a rare 1955 penny in their own home. But not every 1955 penny is valuable. This is where many people get confused. Only the double die version carries this extraordinary value. Regular 1955 wheat pennies without the doubling are much more common, and usually worth only a few cents to a few dollars. So the key is knowing how to identify the real error. To identify a genuine 1955 double die penny, you need to look closely at the lettering on the front. The doubling should be strong and clear, not faint or blurry. It should look like 2 separate impressions slightly shifted from each other. If the doubling is only visible under magnification or looks weak, it might not be the valuable version. Because of its fame, this coin has also been the target of fakes and altered coins. Some people try to create artificial doubling to trick buyers. That's why serious collectors often rely on professional grading services to verify authenticity. These services examine the coin in detail and provide a certification that confirms whether it's genuine. The story of the 1955 wheat penny is more than just about money. It's about chance, history, and the idea that something small and ordinary can become extraordinary. It reminds us that treasures don't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice their true worth. Imagine the moment when someone first realized they had one of these coins. A simple penny suddenly turning into something incredibly valuable. That feeling of surprise, excitement, and disbelief is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's like a real-life treasure hunt. Second up, imagine pulling out an old, slightly worn coin from a forgotten drawer, a coin that looks ordinary, simple, even boring at first glance. Now imagine discovering that this small copper piece could carry a hidden story, a rare variation, or a collector's dream that might be worth far more than you ever expected. The 1946 wheat penny is one of those coins that quietly sits in the background of history, yet hold a powerful appeal for collectors who understand its true importance. The 1946 wheat penny was minted just after World War II, during a time when the United States was rebuilding, recovering, and stepping into a new era. That makes this coin more than just currency. It's a symbol of transition, a piece of history that reflects a nation moving from war to peace. Every detail on this coin, from the portrait of Abraham Lincoln to the wheat ears on the reverse, carries a sense of stability and continuity. At first look, the 1946 penny might not seem rare, and in many ways, it isn't extremely scarce compared to other famous coins. Millions of these pennies were produced, which means you can still find them today in collections, old jars, or inherited coin boxes. But here's where things start to shift. The real value doesn't lie in every coin, but in specific conditions and rare variations that make certain pieces stand out. Collectors are always searching for coins in exceptional condition, and with the 1946 wheat penny, this is where the value can begin to rise. A heavily circulated coin with scratches, and where it might only be worth a small amount above its face value, but a coin that has been preserved with sharp details, strong lettering, and a bright surface can command a much higher price in the market. Now think about rarity in a different way. Not just how many coins were made, but how many survived in near-perfect condition. Over the decades, most 1946 pennies were used daily, passed from hand to hand, and exposed to damage. That means high-grade examples are much harder to find today, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. Another factor that can dramatically increase value is the presence of mint marks. The 1946 wheat penny was produced in different mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from certain mints, especially in better condition, can be more desirable. A small letter beneath the date can make a big difference in how collectors see the coin. But what truly excites collectors are errors, those unexpected mistakes that happen during the minting process. While the 1946 penny is not as famous for dramatic errors as some other years, there are still minor varieties, such as double lettering or off-center strikes, that can make a coin more valuable. These errors are like fingerprints, making each coin unique. It's important to understand something clearly. Most 1946 wheat pennies are not worth millions of dollars. The idea of becoming a billionaire overnight from a common coin is more fantasy than reality. However, certain rare conditions or exceptional pieces can still reach impressive values, especially when they're graded at the highest levels by professional services. Grading plays a huge role in the coin's value. Experts examine the coin under magnification, analyzing its surface, shine, and level of wear. Coins are given grades on a scale, and even a small difference in grade can mean a large difference in price. A coin graded near perfect can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on demand. The demand for wheat pennies remains strong because they represent a classic era of American coinage. Many collectors feel a deep connection to these coins because they are simple, historic, and widely recognized. The 1946 penny, being part of the post-war period, holds a special place in that timeline. There's also a psychological aspect to collecting coins like this. The idea that something so small and overlooked could carry hidden value creates excitement and curiosity. It turns ordinary people into treasure hunters, searching through old collections with hope and anticipation. However, one must be careful not to fall into exaggerated claims. Not every old coin is a jackpot, and believing that any 1946 penny will bring life-changing wealth can lead to disappointment. Knowledge is a real power here. Understanding what to look for, how to evaluate condition, and when a coin is truly special. If you ever find a 1946 wheat penny, the best approach is to examine it closely. Look at its condition, check for mint marks, and see if there are any unusual features. If it appears to be in excellent shape or shows signs of an error, it may be worth having it evaluated by a professional. The beauty of this coin lies not just in its potential value, but in its story. It's a reminder of a different time, a different world, and the everyday lives of people who use it without a second thought. Today, that same coin can spark interest, curiosity, and even a bit of excitement. In the end, the 1946 wheat penny may not guarantee overnight riches, but offer something just as powerful: the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the possibility that even the smallest object can hold unexpected value. And sometimes, that feeling alone is worth more than money. Third up, listen closely, because this is where reality and hype collide in a way most people never understand. You probably heard claims that an old 1948 wheat penny can make you a millionaire overnight. It sounds powerful, exciting, even life-changing. But the truth behind this coin is far more interesting and far more realistic than those exaggerated stories. And once you understand it, you'll see why collectors still chase this coin with passion. The 1948 wheat penny is part of the famous Lincoln Wheat series, a design that carries deep historical meaning. Minted just after World War II, this coin represents a world stepping out of conflict and into rebuilding. Every time someone held this coin in 1948, they were holding a small piece of a nation moving forward, and that historical weight still attracts collectors today. Now here's something important that many people misunderstand. The 1948 wheat penny is not extremely rare in general. In fact, hundreds of millions were produced across different mints, which means most of these coins are still fairly common today. That's why you can still find them in collections, coin jars, or old family belongings. Coin-identifier.com. In normal circulated condition, a 1948 wheat penny is usually worth only a few cents, often between 3 cents and 25 cents depending on where. That might sound disappointing if you were expecting millions. But don't stop here, because the real story begins when condition and rarity come into play. Bullion shark. The true power of this coin lies in something collectors call grade, a coin that has been preserved perfectly, with its original shine and sharp details, becomes a completely different story. High-grade examples, especially those with a bright red copper color, can jump dramatically in value compared to worn coins. And this is where things start getting exciting. Some of the best preserved 1948 wheat pennies have sold for thousands of dollars. In fact, one nearly perfect example reached over $10,000 at auction because of its exceptional condition and rarity at that level. That's not millions, but it's still an unbelievable leap from 1 cent. U.S. Coins Guide. Think about that for a moment. The same coin that most people ignore could be worth thousands if it survived decades without damage. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about the coin itself. It's about how well it has been preserved over time. Another layer of value comes from mint marks. The 1948 penny was produced in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. Each version has slightly different availability, and collectors often prefer certain mint marks in higher grades, which can push the price even higher. But if you're chasing the idea of massive value, then you need to understand one key factor: errors. Minting errors are what turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. While the 1948 penny is not famous for a single dramatic error like the 1955 double die, there are still smaller errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or repunch mint marks that can increase value significantly. These error coins are rare because they were never meant to exist. They slip through the minting process unnoticed, and that mistake is exactly what makes them valuable today. A 1948 penny with a clear and verified error can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on how strong and unique the error is. Tech Mazza. Now, let's address the biggest myth directly. The idea that a 1948 wheat penny can make you a billionaire overnight. That's simply not true. No verified 1948 penny has ever reached anything close to that level. The real high-value coins in history, like certain rare wartime errors, are from completely different years and situations. But here's the truth that still makes this coin exciting. Even if it won't make you instantly rich, it can still surprise you. Finding a high-grade or rare variation coin in an old collection can feel like discovering hidden treasure. That moment of realization that something small has unexpected value is what keeps collectors searching. Imagine going through an old box of coins passed down from your family. Most of them might be ordinary, but then you spot a bright, sharp 1948 penny that looks almost new. That moment alone is enough to spark curiosity, excitement, and maybe even beginning of a deeper interest in coin collecting. The beauty of the 1948 wheat penny is not just in its price, it's in its story. It's a coin that connects history, chance, and discovery. It reminds you that value is not always obvious, and sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. So if you ever come across one of these coins, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Check its condition, its details, and its uniqueness. Because while it may not turn you into a billionaire overnight, it could still be far more valuable than you ever expected. And sometimes, that's more than enough to make it worth keeping. Fourth up, listen carefully, because this is where hype meets reality in a way that most people never fully understand. The 1953 wheat penny is often talked about in dramatic, almost unbelievable ways. Claims of overnight millions, life-changing wealth, and hidden treasure sitting quietly in your pocket. It sounds exciting, almost too good to ignore. But the real story behind this coin is even more fascinating when you understand what actually gives it value. The 1953 wheat penny comes from the iconic Lincoln Wheat series, a design that had already become deeply familiar to Americans by the early 1950s. With Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the back, this coin symbolized tradition, stability, and everyday life. It passed through millions of hands during a time when the world was adjusting to peace after years of global conflict. Now here's the truth that many people overlook. The 1953 wheat penny is not extremely rare in general. Millions upon millions were minted in that year across different locations, which means most of these coins are still relatively common today. You can find them in old collections, inherited coin boxes, and sometimes even mixed with other old pennies. But don't lose interest yet, because this is where the real story begins. In coin collecting, rarity alone doesn't create value. Condition does. A worn, scratched 1953 penny that spent decades in circulation might only be worth a small amount above its face value. But a coin that has been preserved in near-perfect condition becomes something entirely different. Collectors use a grading system to measure a coin's condition, and even the smallest differences can create massive changes in value. A 1953 wheat penny with sharp details, no visible wear, and a bright original copper color, often called red by collectors, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its grade. Now imagine this for a moment. 2 coins from the same year, both 1953, both originally worth 1 cent. One is worn and dull, worth almost nothing. The other is nearly perfect, glowing with original luster, and suddenly it becomes a prized collectible. That's the power of preservation. Another important factor is the mint mark. The 1953 penny was produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint created coins with slight differences in availability and survival rates. Collectors often pay closer attention to certain mint marks, especially when combined with high grades. Then comes the most exciting part of coin collecting: errors. These are the unexpected mistakes that happen during the minting process. While the 1953 wheat penny is not famous for a single dramatic error, like the legendary 1955 double die, there are still smaller errors that can increase value. These include doubled lettering, off-center strikes, and other unusual variations. These errors are rare because they were never meant to exist. They slipped through the mint unnoticed, and that accident is what makes them valuable today. A 1953 penny with a clear and strong error can attract serious attention from collectors and sell for significantly higher prices. But let's address the biggest claim directly. The idea that a 1953 wheat penny can make you a billionaire overnight, that simply isn't true. No verified sale of a 1953 penny has ever reached anything close to that level. The coins that achieve extreme prices are usually from very rare years with dramatic errors or unique historical circumstances. However, that doesn't mean this coin has no power. Its real power lies in possibility. The possibility that you might find a high-grade example. The possibility that you might discover a rare error. And the possibility that something small and overlooked could still surprise you. Think about the thrill of searching through old coins, not knowing what you might find. That sense of curiosity and anticipation is what draws people into coin collecting. It turns a simple activity into a treasure hunt, where knowledge becomes your greatest tool. The 1953 wheat penny also carries a quiet historical charm. It represents a time when coins were used daily, when small change mattered, and when people didn't think twice about the pennies they spent. Today, that same coin has become a collectible, a reminder of a different era. If you ever come across a 1953 wheat penny, don't rush to spend it or ignore it. Take a closer look. Examine its surface, its shine, and its details. Check if it has a mint mark. Look for anything unusual. Because even though most of these coins are common, the right one in the right condition can still hold surprising value. In the end, the story of the 1953 wheat penny is not about instant riches. It's about awareness, patience, and discovery. It teaches you that value is not always obvious, and that sometimes the smallest objects carry the most interesting stories. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you see an old penny, you won't see it as just 1 cent, you'll see it as a possibility waiting to be explored.